So welcome everybody. I'm Joy Rivera. I'm the AMA Program Supervisor. I'll be presenting on behalf of Nick Mason and move on to logistics. So before we get started, I would like to go over some meeting logistics. For the public in attendance, we ask that you keep your phones silent. We ask that all present online, please keep your audio muted during the meeting. The meeting is being recorded and will be posted onto ADWR's website and YouTube page once the meeting is recorded. Finally, if you have any technical difficulties, please contact the help desk. Their information is on the screen. And we can move on to agenda item number 3, Trent.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chuck Womberg, I'm Assistant Legislative Liaison of the department. And so there's 2 of us in our legislative affairs team at the department, and we are tasked with monitoring any state and federal legislation, providing resources to lawmakers and their staff. And so just broadly, the department will rarely take positions on bills, but we track what's going on, provide people kind of facts, figures, background on water issues in the state so they can make informed decisions. And so I'm just going to give you a little update on this past year, the legislation that passed or was introduced this last year. So if you want to go to the next slide, Madison. So this session, the 160-day session, more or less typical in Arizona anymore. You can see the top half of the slide goes through the total number of bills. About 20% of them passed out of the legislature, and then after vetoes, about 15% were signed. That's more or less on par with a typical session. What is unusual is how many water bills there were. You probably saw at some point in the newspaper about all the water-related legislation that went through this year. Very hot topic, probably up there with election, education, top 3 biggest issue this year in the state. So you saw, or you see there's 75 bills dealt specifically with water resource management, specifically what DWR does with water resources, AMAs, all that sort of thing. There were dozens of others that dealt with DEQ and water quality, rulemaking for agencies, a lot of other things that touch us. So a lot going on in the water world down at the legislature right now, and I'll walk through some of those highlights now. So this first slide is just a couple of the enacted bills, things that passed and were signed that are about to go into effect here in a couple of weeks that would just directly potentially impact the Prescott AMA. One is, it was SB 1242. The name is Water Conservation Grant Fund, but it really ended up being amended to deal with something that was introduced by Tim Dunn, and it is about the Harquahala Basin, the Harquahala INA, which is the transportation basin, which was set up 30 some years ago in statute as one of the basins designated to allow groundwater transfers to other areas of the state. And so this bill, before this bill was passed, it was just open to public entities, the state or cities, any kind of public entity to transport water. This bill allows anything, any kind of private water utility that is registered with the state to also transfer water. So this opens more avenues for private water providers in the state to take advantage of this to any initial AMA, so every AMA besides Douglas. And then the other one is HB 2055, and I said DWR doesn't usually often support legislation, but once in a while state agencies will ask for some fixes to make life a little easier for the agency and our customers. And so this was one that we ran and supported. We asked once again Representative Tim Dunn, and it was just a fix to allow our staff for a little more flexibility in the licensing timeframe for underground storage. So if there's any applicant for an underground storage facility, in the state, it won't impact, end users, applicants at all, except it might make it a little quicker for the agency to get a response back. So those are the couple bills that actually passed and were signed that might impact Prescott and AMA. Go on. Just a few more, if you're curious, that you probably saw on the news, big hot topic bills that are more specific to other AMAs, but certainly relevant to the broader water world. One is SB 1081, introduced by Senator Kerr. And this is mostly targeted for the Buckeye area, typically to get a designation of water, assured water for a water provider in an AMA. It has to be for your entire service area. This allowed any, what we call exempt areas in AMAs, such as the waterlogged district in Buckeye, to seek a partial designation just for that part that has excess water to allow them to serve customers. So that was one piece. And then there's SB 1181. If you've seen anything with the ADOS rules in the Phoenix and Canal AMAs with an alternative pathway to become a designated water provider, this was something asked for by some of the cities and private water utilities that might be seeking that alternative designation. They just wanted something for CAGRD membership to allow them to kind of base in their member lands. And so that was passed. And then another HB 2016 from Representative Griffin down in the Douglas AMA just gave applicants down there 6 more months to apply for an irrigation grandfather right. And so that deadline was extended by 6 months, and the new deadline just passed, but it gave a lot of applicants 6 more months to kind of figure out what was going down in that new AMA, submit their paperwork. We go to the next slide. So the last is just other water and legislation topics that you might be familiar with. Some of these that were discussed quite a bit, debated in committee, on the floor, within meetings that didn't quite get over the finish line, but they will almost certainly be coming up next session and in the future until they in some form get passed. The first is build to rent, which I know is a kind of a hot topic up here in the Prescott area. For those unfamiliar, build to rent is kind of a new phenomenon to build single family residences. And instead of creating them as subdivisions and selling them off, the owner retains the property and rents them out. They were created as a solution, a new tool or a new product for the housing market. But in some areas of the state, like in the AMAs, they've kind of been used at this point to get around some subdivision laws, including the Assured Water Supply Program. And so all of the first 3 of these topics came out of the Governor's Water Policy Council last year as priorities. So the build to rent is to close some of those loopholes so they're on even playing field. So that if a subdivision for sale has to do it, so do these build to rent. We saw a lot of bipartisan support in both chambers. It just didn't quite make it over the finish line this session, but it will almost certainly be next session, I would guess. Wildcat subdivisions or illegal lot splitting is another kind of loophole around the Assured Water Supply Program where developers knowingly are just breaking their subdivisions into lot sizes of 5 or fewer. They don't have to adhere to any subdivision laws, including Assured Water Supply Program rules. And so whether knowingly or, which is often the case, or sometimes unknowingly, if a developer just starts breaking off into pieces of 3, 4, 5 homes, they don't have to have a strict water supply program. So these are some bills to kind of increase the penalties and close some of the loopholes so Department of Water Resources, Department of Real Estate can catch those actors earlier on. And then a couple other big topics. Doesn't affect the AMAs quite as much, but rural groundwater management for all the rest of the states, the groundwater basins outside of the currently 6 AMAs, looking for some tools that's maybe different than an AMA in some non-urban areas where circumstances are a little different, looking for a new tool to manage their groundwater. A couple different proposals, one from the Senate bill from Senator Kerr and a House bill that language came from the governor's office. There were a lot of discussions on that, a lot of progress made, and that will probably continue next session. And then ag to urban, which could apply in any number of AMAs. Right now, it's only targeted for Phoenix and maybe now, but it could eventually be applicable in every AMA that incentivizes converting agricultural land to housing demand, to kind of reduce the water use on that land. And another one that got pretty far in discussion, but didn't make it initially. And then I think the last slide here is just my contact information. I'm Chuck Womberg, Assistant Legislative Liaison, and then there's Ben Alternator, Chief Legislative Liaison. And this is what we do year-round, whether it's meeting with lawmakers and their staff or stakeholders. So if you ever have any questions, please call or email. We also have a web page on the ADWR website called Legislative Affairs, where weekly, not this time of year, but during the session weekly, we post updates of what bills are going through, what's being heard in committee. And that is on our website and can also be sent out as a newsletter. So if you're interested in that, go to our website or email either one of us, and we are happy to chat at any point about what's going on in capital. So any questions? That's all I have. Yeah.
That's right. Kathy, we were saying Prescott City Council, I have a question about the first bill that passed.
Yeah.
You know, for the basin. Is there any limit on the acre feet of water that could be transferred and pumped down? Is it just?
Yes, there is. I don't know if you guys have a number off the top of my head. I don't. I can follow up with you, but I know there is.
Or is it limit?
Yeah.
All right, I was just wondering. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 4. Overview of the application process for new groundwater users advisory council members. So this slide just kind of has the contact information for the Board and Commission's office. And their information can be found on the screen. We do not hold any of the appointments for ADWR, does not do anything associated with the groundwater advisory councils. Those are all appointed by the governor. And there's a little bit of background on the next slide. So this is some quick background. So a GUAC consists of 5 members. Right now, the Prescott area only has 2. So we have 3 vacancies. And this is just a little bit more background. This is the statute that goes along with those GUACs. And, you know, GUAC members serve without compensation, but they play a critical role. Their duties include recommendations on policies, fees, and grant programs in the area. Go on to the next slide. So these are just some more duties that are broken down. They also make recommendations to the Arizona Water Banking Authority. They're crucial for our AMA, and since we only have 2 members right now, we can't hold a meeting. There's not a quorum, we need 3. So we're actively looking for people to apply. And we can move on to the next slide. So this is how you apply. This is the link. It's available on our public meetings calendar. This is the Board and Commission's website. This is kind of how the application looks. And you would put here like your resume, you would put any letters of recommendations. And go on to the next slide. And then here you would just click on what board you would like. This is the Prescott AMA board that's on there, for example, but we also have other vacancies in other AMAs. And what's the next one? And this is the last just step here, the final step where you would sign off on that. And once submitting, you'll be contacted by like the Board and Commission's office. Any notifications at all will be made through them. They'll send emails and kind of give you the status of your application. We go on to the next. And if you have any questions, Nick Mason is more than willing to help you out. There's email and his phone number is there on the screen. I am as well. Again, my name is Joy. You can also contact us at our IRP email. So it's irp@azwater.gov, and that's our AMA section if you have any questions. We can move on to agenda item number 5. It's AMA Director Report by Ryan Wilson.
Good afternoon, members of the public who are here in the room and online. I'll be delivering the director's report today. Natalie Masser, AMA Director, regrets that she can't be here and sends her best regards. For those who don't know me, I'm Ryan Nelson. I'm the Deputy AMA Director here at the agency. I would just like to provide a few updates that we have going on and developments here at ADWR. So first off, staffing wise, in terms of personnel, I'm pleased to announce Melissa Sykes has been promoted from our WMAP grant coordinator to our AMA conservation program supervisor. Melissa's been at the agency for over 5 years and consistently delivered outstanding work. We're thrilled to see her step into the new role. The next item I have is alternative pathway to designation or ADOS. ADWR has initiated a formal rulemaking process to modify the Sherwood water supply rules to create an alternative pathway to designation of the Phoenix and Canal AMAs. There's a public stakeholder process as a part of that rulemaking, including a public hearing and comment period and consideration of the rulemaking by the Governor's Regulatory Review Council, the GRRC. Information regarding this rulemaking and timeline are available on ADWR's website. The last thing I have is regarding the Douglas AMA, and I just wanted to mention there that AWR will be working this fall for the adoption of the first management plan for the Douglas AMA. This statutory structure for subsequent AMAs is different than that for initial AMAs. And we're grateful to the stakeholders and staff like Madison, who's here in the room today, who came and helped us in a pinch, that worked to create something that reflects the unique and unprecedented nature of that AMA. Those are the updates I have with the report.
And we can adjourn the meeting. That's our last agenda item, but if anybody has, can you go back to that last slide? Any questions? You can reach out to, there's our email and our phone number. If there's anything that we presented on that you have additional questions on or that we could provide, we'll be happy to do so. All right.
So when will the Douglas AMA have the first annual plan, correct?
I can answer that, actually. Madison Moreno, I am the AMA Establishment Coordinator. So I work with establishing the process for the Douglas AMA, working on a management plan and application process. We have published the first informal draft of the management plan. It is available on our website. We presented it to the GUAC board or council last week. We're in the comment period as of right now. Those comments end on September 9th, so upcoming Monday. And we will be posting, editing the plan as needed with those comments as appropriate, and be publishing a formal draft towards the middle of September. So upcoming, and we'll hold the hearing in October.
There's a 60-day public comment period.
Not quite sure with, I would have to double check on the statute, but yes, there is a public comment period.
When do you expect to have a final first annual plan agreed upon?
Our timeline as of right now is to adopt the plan in December, so that the conservation requirements begin at the beginning of the year of 27. All right. Okay. There's no comments on the.
No. All right. Thank you.